History lost, decks past, but in this series, we revisit older decks to see if they can be brought back to the forefront of the meta. We'll break down what made these decks great, what no longer holds up, and how modern builds can give them new life. By exploring different variants and tech choices, we'll tune each deck to fit different playstyles. Let's see if these classics still have what it takes for meta teching. What's up, guys? My name is TechnoTuner, and we're back again with another episode of Meta Teching. Today, we're taking a look at Odd-Eyes, aka Pendulum Pile. Odd-Eyes has been one of those fun actual Arc 5 decks that the main protagonist, Yuya, used throughout the entire series, and it keeps getting more and more actual support as time goes on. Given the new Odd-Eyes Link 3 and giving us more capabilities for pendulum summoning, this deck has a lot of good capabilities to be seen as rogue, and if in the future, when we get the newer support from Magnificent Maidens, this deck may go to where it's either regional or even YCS level. This deck offers up a lot of capability from being able to Synchro Summon, Pendulum Summon, Xyz Summon, and mainly Link Summon, giving you a lot of good capability to build your board and set up negations in the process. From being able to set up Vortex Dragon and Absolute, you have other opportunities here as well as to go through and set up interactions such as SP Little Knight and Chaos Angel, along with others, such as if you decide to do the Zark line, to set up bigger, badder boss monsters, such as Zark in the original Fusion form, the Synchro form, or the Fusion Pendulum form. There's a lot of good capability for this deck, and I wanted to bring it to you guys today to see what kind of versions we can be taking a look at currently, given the 3 structure decks that we got from the legendary Arc 5 decks. So let's go ahead and start out with our pure version and see what we could do. All right, guys, let's hop right into our first deck, which is going to be the pure Odd-Eyes variant. This is something that you can build with minimal additions to the 3 legendary Arc 5 Odd-Eyes decks that you get out of the structure decks that you can buy for about $30 from your locals or at your local shop, such as Walmart, Target, etc. From this, we basically start off with our hand trap lineup, which is 3 Ash Blossom, 2 Droll and Lockbird, 2 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, and 3 Molcharmy Follows. These are very beneficial. They do help you a lot, and they can help with board breaking or stalling your opponent from being able to really do a lot. We have Astrograph Sorcerer, which is really great because it does function as an extender for the deck for whenever a card is destroyed by battle or card effect. You special summon this card from your hand. Then you can choose one monster in your graveyard, extra deck, or that is banished, and that was destroyed this turn, and add one monster with the same name from your deck to your hand, which can really help get your extension going, but it also gives you more stuff to work with. The other cards that we're playing are 1 Odd-Eyes Pendulum Dragon, 1 Odd-Eyes Persona Dragon, Odd-Eyes Persona Dragon giving us the capability of getting a negate on the board, but also giving us a full board capability of once per turn during the end phase, if your opponent activated a card or effect this turn that targeted a Odd-Eyes Pendulum monster you control and no other cards while this card is in your Pendulum Zone, special summon this card, and if you do, place 1 face up Odd-Eyes Pendulum monster from your extra deck in your Pendulum Zone except Odd-Eyes Persona Dragon. Now, the other thing is that I will add on to this is that Odd-Eyes Persona Dragon is only a quick effect negate of a monster effect that was special summoned from the extra deck for this turn. So that is very beneficial. You do have to pay attention to that, though. You can't go negating anything that's special summoned from hand or deck. It just has to be specifically from the extra deck. Now, the other card that we're playing are 3 Odd-Eyes Revolution Dragon, because this card is a level 12, does give us the full board capability of actually pendulum summoning, but it does only restrict you to pendulum summoning only dragon monsters. So you're not going to be able to really pendulum summon as much, or really the monsters that you want to utilize here, but it can be used for later on if you're playing like the Zark line or the actual pendulum monsters that you can utilize. Now, the other thing that I will state, the reason why we're playing 3 of this, is so you can discard this card, pay 500 life points, add 1 level 8 or lower dragon pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. Gains attack and defense equal to half your opponent's life points. Once per turn, you can pay half your life points, shuffle all other cards from the field and the graveyards into the deck. So this can be really beneficial, but it has to be either pendulum summon from the hand or special summon from the hand by attributing 3 monsters, 1 fusion, 1 synchro, and 1 Xyz. So that makes it a little bit more powerful unto itself, but you do have to pay attention to its summoning requirements. The next two that we have here are Gentrude and Lady Ange. Gentrude is basically if you have Lady Ange or Lady Ange is in your other pendulum zone and you control no monsters or only pendulum monsters, you can add one Odd-Eyes card from your deck to your hand. If this card on the field is destroyed, you can place one Perform Pal Pendulum monster from your deck in your pendulum zone except Gentrude. If this face-up card in your extra deck is in your face-up extra deck, you can discard one Pendulum monster, add this card to your hand, then return one Perform Pal or Odd-Eyes card from your pendulum zone to the hand, which can help out because with Lady Ange, once per turn when an attack is declared involving your monster and an opponent's monster, you can discard one Pendulum monster. That opponent's monster loses 1,000 attack until the end of this turn. And then its monster effect is you can discard this card and one Perform Pal monster, except for my pal Lady Ange. Draw 2 cards. This card's in your graveyard, and you control an Odd-Eyes card or Perform Pal Gentrude. You can place this card in your pendulum zone. You can only use one Perform Pal Lady Ange effect per turn and only once that turn. So basically, being able to place it back in the scale can be very beneficial because Gentrude and Lady Ange get you your scales for 1 and 8, so your low and high scales to start your combos. Now, Monkey Board is very beneficial because it is scale modulation. As long as you have a Perform Pal card in your other pendulum zone, the scale becomes 1, but if you do not have a Perform Pal card in your other scale, it does become a level 4. The one thing that is really noticeable for this card is during the main phase, if this card was activated this turn, you can add one level 4 or lower Perform Pal monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Perform Pal Monkey Board once per turn. The main effect is you can discard this card, reveal one Perform Pal or Odd-Eyes monster in your hand. If you do, reduce the levels of monsters in your hand with that name by 1 for the rest of this turn. So this can help with scaling for your pendulum scale. So if something's too high by 1 level, you can lower its level. So that can help a lot by being able to pendulum summon it out. We have Butler, which is very beneficial because we do get the attack negate by sending a Odd-Eyes monster from your graveyard to the extra deck face up, and then you gain life points equal to that pendulum monster's attack. But the main thing here that we're looking at, if this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can target a Perform Pal or Odd-Eyes monster card you control. Special summon this card, destroy that card, so this can trigger off certain effects, such as our Pendulum, where if a face-up Odd-Eyes card you control is destroyed by Valor card effect, you can special summon Odd-Eyes monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. You can only use this effect of Odd-Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon once per turn, so basically giving you some recycling to set up other things, such as Odd-Eyes Dissolver, the way that we can fusion summon, and it's also a technical way to keep a monster on the board to protect it from battle for once or one battle. Odd-Eyes Dissolver is very beneficial because its pendulum effect lets you fusion summon a dragon fusion monster from your extra deck using fusion materials from your hand and or field. The actual monster effect can allow you to, during your main phase, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your field and or pendulum zones, including this card. So that can help as well if you have a bricky hand or say Odd-Eyes Pendulum Dragons in your scale and you're able to get out Odd-Eyes Dissolver, you have a way to a fusion such as into Vortex. The other cards that we're playing are 3 Seer, which are very beneficial because you can target one Perform Pal or Odd-Eyes card in your graveyard, add to your hand, then destroy this card, which can trigger off your Arc Rebellion. But the other cards as well is it can also get you some graveyard recursion or get cards into your extra deck for the pendulum summons later on based on its battle position. Odd-Eyes Synchron is really great because while it can level modulate and make a monster a tuner through its pendulum effect, the other one is very beneficial because if it's special summon, you do have to banish it, but if it's normal summon, you can basically revive a level 3 or lower Odd-Eyes or Perform Pal monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but it has its effects negated. Once per turn, you can target one card in your pendulum zone, special summon it, but it has its effects negated, if any. And if you do, after this effect immediately resolves, immediately synchro summon one synchro monster using only that monster in this card. So this can get you with Odd-Eyes Seer directly into a level 8 synchro, which is very beneficial. Then we have Valet. Valet is, if this card is normal or special summon, you can send one Perform Pal or Odd-Eyes monster from your deck to the graveyard, except Valet. And if you do, this card's level becomes the same as that monster's level until the end of this turn. So this can be a great way to get into your Xyz plays and further help out there as well. Pendulum Sorcerer is just a great way to pop your pendulum zones to add 2 Perform Pal monsters for further extension when it's special summon. Skull Crobat Joker. This basically makes it to where you can only Pendulum summon Perform Pal, Magician, and Odd-Eyes monsters, and its effect cannot be negated. But that's not what we're really worried about. This is where we can add a Perform Pal, Pendulum, or Odd-Eyes monster from our deck to our hand when this card is specifically normal summon. So you do have to pay attention to that. The other cards, which we've already seen, which is Arc Pendulum, we are playing 2 Sky Iris, where it makes it to where your opponent cannot target Magician, Pendulum, or Odd-Eyes cards in your Pendulum zones with card effects. You can target one other face-up card you control, destroy it, and if you do, add 1 Odd-Eyes card from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Sky Iris once per turn. Then we have Spiral Flame Strike. If you control an Odd-Eyes card, target 1 card in the field, destroy it, or add to your hand 1 level 7 Odd-Eyes monster from your deck, or face-up level 7 Odd-Eyes Pendulum monster from your extra deck. So this can help out in getting your Odd-Eyes Pendulum Dragon onto the board, or just getting you into your Arc Pendulum Dragon, which can help out a lot there as well. The other cards that we're utilizing here are Terraforming and Triple Tactics Talent. We have Odd-Eyes Vortex Dragon in our extra deck, as this card is very beneficial because of its special summon. You can target 1 opponent's attack position monster returned to the hand. When a spell or trap card or another monster effect is activated, quick effect, you can shuffle 1 face-up Pendulum monster from your extra deck into the deck, negate the activation if you do destroy that card. It's insanely good, still good on the negate. Nonetheless, we have Odd-Eyes Pendulum Dragon here. This is just a filler card, but I like playing it within this deck because if it uses a level 5 or higher monster, it is insanely good because this card can make up to 3 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. The other thing is, if this card was fusion summoned using a Pendulum summon monster on the field as fusion material, it is unaffected by your opponent's card effect this turn. So that can also give you a little bit more protection. The other cards that we have here are Chaos Angel, Ignister Prominence, the Blasting Draco Slayer. Target 1 Pendulum monster on the field or in 1 card in the Pendulum zones, destroy it. And if you do, shuffle 1 card in the field into the deck. That is not targeting the actual card on the field, so that is really helpful. Once per turn, you can special summon Draco Slayer monster from your deck in defense position, but it cannot be used as synchro material. We're not really utilizing that secondary effect. No worries on that. The other one that I'm running is Magister Paladin, the Ascending Draco Slayer. If it succeeds summon, add a Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand during the end phase of this turn, so giving you some playability for next turn. In follow-up, we have Odd-Eyes Absolute Dragon. When any player's monster declares an attack, detach 1 material from this card and negate the attack. Then you can special summon Odd-Eyes monster from your hand or graveyard. If the succeed summon card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon Odd-Eyes monster from your extra deck, except Absolute Dragon. So this is a great way to cheat out Vortex Dragon. Then of course we got the Access Code Talker and the Charmer Quartet in Bloom as our Link 4s. Great ways of either OTKing or getting monsters back on the board. We have Beyond the Pendulum and Exceed the Pendulum, being able to get cards to our extra deck or allowing us an additional Pendulum summon. We have IP and SP, which are good board removal. And then we have the Odd-Eyes Override Dragon. 2 or more monsters, including a Pendulum monster. You can target 1 other card you control, destroy it, and if you do, draw 1 card. During your turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effects, you can discard 1 card and negate that effect. You can only use each of the preceding effects of Odd-Eyes Override Dragon once per turn. If you destroyed a Pendulum monster card by this card's first effect during your main phase, this turn you can conduct 1 Pendulum summon of a Perform Pal monsters, Magician Pendulum monsters, and or Odd-Eyes monsters in addition to your Pendulum summon. You can only gain this effect once per turn, so thus giving you effectively 2, if not 3, Pendulum summons, depending on how you go about it. The other card that I'm playing is 1 Odd-Eyes Rebellion Exceeds Dragon, because during your main phase, you special summon this card, then you can attach 1 dark monster from your graveyard to this card as material. That works very well for Odd-Eyes Rebellion Exceeds Dragon, but the main thing we're looking at here is you can attach 1 material from this card, target the 2 monsters your opponent controls with 3,000 or less, attack and destroy them. So this can really hurt your opponent if they're not paying attention to it, but it's still a good 3k beater nonetheless. Given that this deck has a lot of good capability, I wanted to take it a little bit further and see how we could further improve it. So let's go ahead and hop right into those other variants. All right, so hopping into our second one, we're going to be looking at a few changes, not a lot here, but one big change here is utilizing Odd-Eyes Pendulum Graph Dragon. We're not utilizing this pendulum effect to where we can add a ritual spell. but we are utilizing the effect where we can pendulum summon it or ritual summon it from your hand. Each time your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck, inflict 300 damage to them. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a spell, card, or quick effect, you can place this card in your pendulum zone. And if you do negate that effect, then if you place this ritual summon card in the pendulum zone, you can special summon Odd-Eyes monster from your extra deck. You wouldn't be able to get to place that Odd-Eyes monster because it's not technically ritual summon. It is pendulum summon. So you do have to pay attention to that. The other card that we're utilizing is Phantasma, where you can utilize its pendulum effect to discard a card, add one face-up pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand as a great way for recursion. But the other thing is that if you have two cards in your pendulum zones and a face-up Odd-Eyes Pendulum monster in your extra deck, you can special summon this card from your hand. You cannot pendulum summon the turn you activate this effect. During damage calculation, if this card attacks an opponent's monster, you can make that opponent's monster lose 1,000 attack for each face-up pendulum monster in your extra deck during the damage calculation only. You can only use each effect of Odd-Eyes Phantasma Dragon once per turn, which can help out greatly for doing more battle damage, but it also gives you more playability as well. A couple other cards we're playing are Perform Pal Popper Up, allowing you to send 3 cards from your hand to the graveyard, draw that many cards, and special summon up to that many monsters from your hand with different names that are Perform Pal, Magician, Pendulum monsters, and or Odd-Eyes monsters with a different level between the scales of the 2 cards in your pendulum zones. If you did not special summon by this effect, you lose 1,000 life points. So basically, it's just discard 3 dead cards to draw 3 cards that might potentially get us into the game, giving us further capability. Now, looking into the extra deck, we did remove the Ignister. Now we're playing the Meteor Burst Dragon, which is basically you can target 1 card in your pendulum zone, special summon it, and also this card cannot attack for the rest of his turn. You can only use this effect of Odd-Eyes Meteor Burst once per turn. Your opponent cannot activate monster effects during the battle phase, so this can really hurt them a lot. But the target 1 card in your pendulum zone is only when this card is special summoned, so that can help out a lot. The other card that we have is Odd-Eyes Soul Blaze. If this card is special summoned, you can special summon face-up pendulum monster from your extra deck, but you cannot special summon except pendulum monsters while you control that face-up monster. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 2 other monsters, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, and Pendulum, from your graveyard, special summon this card. You can only use 1 Odd-Eyes Soul Blaze Dragon effect per turn, and only once that turn. Giving you a recursive body that comes back and back and back again can also help you out a lot. The other cards that we're looking at are Odd-Eyes Raging Dragon, where it takes 2 level 7 dragon monsters. If you can pendulum summon a level 7 monster, you can pendulum summon this card in your extra deck. If this card is in the monster zone is destroyed, you can place it in your pendulum zone. If this Xyz summon card using an Xyz summon monster as material, it gains these effects. It can make a second attack during each battle phase, and once per turn, you can attach 1 material from it, destroy as many cards your opponent controls as possible, and if you do, this card gains 200 attack until the end of this turn. So this card is really insane because it is a 3k body. You don't really utilize the extra deck all that much for that, but you do have full board capability of utilizing other things such as Odd-Eyes Rebellion Dragon Overlord. Once per turn, you can special summon this card from your pendulum zone, then special summon from your extra deck 1 Rebellion or 1 Phantom Knights monster using this card as material. This is treated as an Xyz summon. Then you can attach 1 card from your pendulum zone to it as a material. Its actual monster effect is requires 2 level 7 monsters. You can also Xyz summon this card using a Rebellion Xyz monster control as material. Transfer its materials to this card. If you can pendulum summon a level 7, you can pendulum summon this face-up card from your extra deck. This card that was Xyz summoned using a rank 7 Xyz monster as material can make up to 3 attacks during each battle phase. If this card in the monster zone is destroyed, you can place this card in your pendulum zone. You can only special summon Odd-Eyes Rebellion Dragon Overlords once per turn. So this card gives you the further capability of getting another body out onto the field, being able to give you full board capability as well if it's in the pendulum zone. So giving you another body on top of that, that can help you out greatly. Such as the Odd-Eyes Rebellion Xyz Dragon, that can help you further go for game. This is more of an aggressive playlist or deck list that gives you more board capability with your extra deck to go for game a lot sooner. Now, are there a couple other things you could modify? I mean, yeah, you could remove the Odd-Eyes Raging Dragon and a few other cards and make room for some other cards that would be more beneficial, but I do like this as this is more fitting for the pure Odd-Eyes variant. This is all I got for this version. Let's go ahead and hop right into our next one. All right, hopping into our third one. This is where we usually go over our Genesis list or anything like that. This is something that I have found more interesting because, well, pendulums, they're not allowed in Genesis for good reason. But outside of it being the rules, Pendulum unto itself has always been a really good generic deck, and utilizing some of the more powerful cards such as Power Patron and Pendulum Magicians that fall in line with the Odd-Eyes side of things makes it even more interesting. Being able to go from the Power Patron combo to Odd-Eyes combo or even Pendulum Magician stuff can really help you out a lot. Being able to utilize Dark Worm as a free body if it's sent to the graveyard, Light Worm being able to summon itself and then make the level and attribute of either this card or one Pendulum monster control become the same level. So this can be a level 10 if you have a Power Patron. But the other thing is that this card is no more special summon. You can add one face-up Supreme King or Supreme King Gate Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. Then Synchro Summon or Exceed Summon one Supreme King Dragon monster. If a face-up Pendulum monster you control is this Robot Battle or card effect. Most cards is face-up in your extra deck. You can add this card to your hand. You can only use each effect of Supreme King Dragon Light Worm once per turn. So giving you even more capability there. But with Gate Magician, King's Arc you control cannot be banished by your opponent's card effects. During your main phase, you can destroy this card. If you do, place one Supreme King Gate Pendulum monster from your hand or deck in your Pendulum Zone. You can only use that effect once per turn. If you have a Supreme King Gate card in your Pendulum Zone, except Gate Magician, you can send one Pendulum Dragon, one Exceed Dragon, one Synchro Dragon, or Fusion Dragon monster from your hand or extra deck to the graveyard. And if you do, special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, you can add one card that mentions Supreme King Z Arc from your deck to your hand, except a Spellcaster monster, giving us the Wings of Light. During the main phase, add one Supreme King Dragon or Supreme King Gate Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, or if you control Supreme King Zark, you can special summon it instead. You can only activate one Wings of Light effect per turn. Along with the double Iris Magician getting us into our Star Pendulum Graph or our Time Pendulum Graph, making it to where our opponent cannot target spellcaster type monsters we control trap cards or effects, or spell cards or effects. It also allows us to add a Pendulum or Magician Pendulum monster from our deck to our hand if a Magician Pendulum monster leaves our Monster Zone or Pendulum Zone. Same way with Pendulum Graph. But the trap version allows us to target one Magician Pendulum monster card in our Monster Zone or Pendulum Zone and one card our opponent controls and destroy them. If this effect did not destroy two cards, you send one card from the field to the graveyard. So this helps out greatly getting around destruction effects if it doesn't destroy cards in general. The main reason why we're playing the Gate Zero, so we have another body off the Magician and other Zark cards, but we're also playing 3 Wisdom Eye, which can give us further capability here to get into other cards such as Harmonizing, Dark Worm, and even Oath Dragon. Since a lot of our cards like to destroy themselves, such as Ginaldo, Jurapredo, and Nervedo, Astrograph functions a lot well. Well, it functions well here as well. Being able to basically destroy our own cards to summon out the bigger power patrons, such as Jupiter, Nerva, and Genora, to turn on Vidolium, or Vidolia, or even Vidolium, we get a lot off of that, being able to further our plays through there. From being able to do level modulation to go into level 10s, go into synchro plays for 8s or 10s, being able to get our Odd-Eyes negates up through Vortex and the Override Dragon. We have other capability through Purification Power Patron, SP Little Knight, and even Access Code Talker to either go for game or set up interactions with our opponent from banishing a card or linking during their turn, which can really help out a lot in slowing our opponent down. Now, does this deck offer up a lot more capability? It does have a lot higher ceiling. Just do note that you are playing a lot more of a variant deck than you would expect for a lot of others. This deck is just basically a pendulum pile of 2, if not 3, of some of the really better and widely known pendulum decks. So this is something that would take a little bit of practice and getting used to. This deck can be modified greatly or just modified minorly. You have a lot of options here with the pendulum pile to further your playability and play styles. As you'll see here in the next deck, as to why I brought this one up, So let's go ahead and hop right into that. Bringing up Odd-Eyes Power Patron, we have a lot of good capability here as well to utilize our Odd-Eyes monsters and their popping, but also being able to set up actual pendulum scales and utilize our actual Power Patrons. We can do Odd-Eyes combo and Power Patron structure basically to build our own custom board here to where we can set up with the actual Odd-Eyes monsters, with Vortex and Absolute, along with Rebellion Exceeds Dragon. We also have Override, which as well gives us the further capability of searching an Odd-Eyes monster as well. The other thing is that we do have further capability of popping our own cards to summon off Astrograph or utilize other cards in general in our extra deck, such as the Synchro Zark or the Fusion Pendulum Zark or the actual original Supreme King Zark, to further set up massive bosses that can really hurt our opponent or hinder them in a lot of different ways. Noting that this deck does give you a lot of good capability, you have a massive amount of room to further improve this deck or see better, a better ceiling with this deck as a whole. Now, do note that with Skull Crobat Joker, it does only allow you to add Perform Pal, Magician, Pendulum, or Odd-Eyes monsters from your deck to your hand. This is where it does get a little bit into the niche here, so you do have to pay attention when adding Monkey Board or anything like that. But you do have a lot of good capability here using Supreme King Gate Magician, Astrograph, Sorcerer, all of that to get you into your next plays. While this deck is a lot of fun, you do have to practice and modify it a bit. In all honesty, I would probably cut Monkey Board or Crobat Joker down to 2, or I'd just leave them at 3 and cut another card that we may not even utilize here to further our plays, such as even cutting just certain cards such as the 2 Ghost Ogres to allow us to play an Odd-Eyes Seer or 2 to give us more monsters to see or search off of the Perform Pal, Skull Crobat Joker, or Monkey Board. This can give us more capability to pop our cards, get more graveyard recyclability, and doing other plays along those lines. Now, other cards that you can play with these structures is Primite, because Odd-Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon is a normal monster. You could use the Primite engine as well to set up negations through that as well, which can give you further opportunity as well with that. But I wanted to bring you guys this variant of the deck because it is more interesting and does give it a little bit of a higher ceiling than just the pure actual Odd-Eyes deck. Now, do I see this deck currently winning any regionals? It is a high possibility. There is a lot of good capability within the Odd-Eyes and Pendulum archetype to give you further capability to really expand upon what you have and even build off of your current deck lists. While this deck has a lot more capability now, with Override being able to get an additional negate, you have the other cards such as Power Patrons to push for damage at a higher rate, but also prevent your opponent from really doing anything with Power Patron playing Bedolia, as this card basically makes it to where if you control each of the Power Patrons, your opponent cannot activate the effects of cards in the graveyard while you control Nerva, Jupiter, and Genora. So that makes it even harder for them to play if their deck is graveyard reliant. But also staring down monsters that are base 2500 with additionally good effects can make it a lot harder for your opponent to really out. Also, the recursiveness of these monsters, given that they're pendulum monsters, as long as you have a link arrow to summon them to, or just an open extra monster zone, you have a lot of good capability there as well into getting your monsters back on the board. Anyways, guys, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's video as a whole. If you did, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.